Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verses 1 through 18. I'll be reading 1 through 11. Everything is meaningless. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What does man gain from all his labor, at which he toils under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets, and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place that streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. But what has been will be will again, and what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there any one of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was here already, long ago. It was here before our time. There is no remembrance of men of old, and even those who are yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow. And the people said, Amen.
All right, before we start, I've got a video I'd like y'all to see. Now, before anyone throws anything at the stage, I realize in Oklahoma there are really only 2 college football teams that ever exist. You're in the minority because I'm a Notre Dame fan. So keep in mind, and in an open mind, when you see a Notre Dame coach on the screen, I'm not trying to alienate you OU or OSU fans, okay? No shouts at Go Sooner. Hey, no shouts at Go Post. It's not.
I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I know. I was born in Fallsby, West Virginia. And I went by where I was born last night, about 10:30. I was born in a cellar at home, delivered by Dr. McGraw. We had 1 bedroom for my sister, myself, and my parents. We had a half bath and a kitchen. 7.5 years we lived in that place. There was no welfare. There was no food stamps. There was no safety net. But I always had plenty to eat. Because every time I asked for seconds, my dad would say, no, you had plenty. But the reason I was born with a silver spoon, my dad had only gone to the 3rd grade. That's all the education he had. But why was I born with a silver spoon in my mouth? Because I was taught by my parents that life's a matter of making choices, wherever you are, good or bad, because of choices you make. Don't blame anybody else, but if you get an education, you're willing to work and overcome problems and difficulties, in this great country, you can amount to something. That's why I was born with a silver spoon. I was in this country and I was taught personal responsibility for choices you make. And when we talk about a commitment to excellence, that's a choice you make. What do you want to do? Having hopes and dreams and ambition. See, I think that is absolutely critical. Don't make the mistake I made. I've done a lot of dumb things, but let me tell you the one thing I regret. We went to the University of Notre Dame. We took a program on the bottom. We took it to the very top. And for 9 straight years, we went to a January 1 bowl, the sugar, the cotton, the orange, and the fiesta. Nobody's done it before. Nobody's done it since. We put it on top and we maintained it. That's the thing I regret the most. See, there's a rule in life that said you're either growing or you're dying. The tree's either growing or it's dying. So's grass, so's a marriage, so's a business, so's a person. Doesn't have a thing to do with age. My birthday candles cost more than a cake. But it has everything to do, am I trying to get better? Am I trying to improve? We got on top and say, you know, this is pretty good. Let's maintain it. Let's not take any risk. We finished 2nd in the country at Notre Dame. Everybody called me an idiot. Guy finishes last in medical school, they call him doctor. That doesn't seem fair. When I left Notre Dame, I never thought I'd coach again. Where'd you go from Notre Dame? According to my mother, you go directly to heaven, you sit by the Pope. You don't coach anymore. And then I went to live in a town where the average age was deceased. And what I found out, I wasn't tired of coaching. You have to have something to hope for, something to dream. And even though you've done great things so far, what's going to happen now? I want to give you a simple plan. Life doesn't have to be complicated. I try to keep life simple. Do you realize there are only 7 colors of the rainbow? Only 7. Look what Michelangelo did with those 7 colors. There's only 7 musical notes. Look what Beethoven did with those 7 notes. There's only 10 numbers. Look what Bernie Madoff did with those 10 numbers. The point I make is it doesn't have to be complicated. See, you need 4 things in your life. If you don't have any of these 4 things in your life, you're going to have a tremendous void. See, everybody needs something to do. Number 2, everybody needs someone to love. Number 3, everybody needs someone to believe in. In my case, is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. But the 4th thing you need in your life is you need something to hope for. There's never a right time to do the wrong thing. And there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. Just do what's right. I think it's right to be honest, right to be on time. See, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy life. Have fun. You're going to have problems. You're going to have difficulties. That's part of life. And don't tell people about your problems. Do you know that 90% of the people don't care? And the other 10% are glad you got them. So you're better off to keep it yourself. You're going to have problems. But have fun with what you're doing. People say, did you have fun doing ESPN? Not really. Because if you have fun being there, people have fun being around. Doesn't mean I don't do dumb things. And sometimes I wasn't real honest. Do everything to the best of your ability with time allotted. You know, ladies and gentlemen, not all of us be All-American. Not everybody can be first team. Everybody can be the best you're capable of being. And I want to tell you, if you want to fail, you have the right to fail. That's what's great about this country. You do not have the right to cause other people to fail because you don't do everything best your ability. When you join a spouse, you bring a child in the world, you join a business, you join a team. You have obligation, responsibilities, and you owe it to other people to do the maximum you can at each and everything you do. It's not complicated. And the last rule, to show people you care. And you walk in the room, your attitude, hey, here I am, look at me. It's like, no. Your attitude, there you are, how can I help you? I wish I knew those 3 rules when I was 21. I've used them for the last 40 years. There's a statue of me at Notre Dame. I guess they need a place for the pigeons to land, but if you go look at it, just don't look at 3 words on the pedestal. Trust, commitment, love.
Well, I say college football season is in full swing. You might want to turn that on, Brett's going to play again. Yeah, I couldn't look on my feed in the last few days without seeing Boomer Sooner everywhere. Or hearing about that flag playing on the 50-yard line. I hear about it because we don't have cable, and so I live football vicariously through Facebook, apparently. But one of the things that gets me every year about football, and Dr. Graham and I were talking about this the other day, is how no matter if it's a college team or a professional team, how crazy fans can be. I mean, you're talking people who go out in the middle of the snow without any shirts on, and they're wearing blue paint, at least you think it's blue, never know, it might be their natural color skin. Drawing letters on themselves, painting their faces, and when the game's over, they talk about like they were on the field. You know what we did last night? What, sit on the couch with the jersey on? I was thinking about this. College football is fun. I enjoy sports. I enjoy so many things. But today's sermon series, or kickoff of it, today's sermon title, as I watched this video, I thought this is so perfect because when it comes down to it, it wasn't the amount of titles he held. It was hoping, trusting, loving, being in commitment, serving people that mattered, wasn't it? And so when we get into the first book of Ecclesiastes and we hear these words, everything is useless, I promise you I'm not going to be in a depressing funk this morning. But I want us to get into the right frame of mind. The book of Ecclesiastes, some say it was written by Solomon at the end of his life when he finally came to his senses. For those of you who don't know who Solomon is, Solomon was the second king in the David dynasty, the son of David, born to Bathsheba. And when God, before he became king, asked him what he could give him, Solomon asked for what, church? Wisdom. The thing is, the wisdom eventually got to his head. You see, Solomon was so wise that people would come from all over the world, and from what we understand, Solomon had a little bit of an eye for ladies. Perhaps a little bit too much eye. I grew up in a family of all girls, and I went nuts with 2 sisters and all female cousins. I don't understand how he could do it with 300 wives and 700 concubines. But as we go through this book, I want us to look at this as from someone who's seen it all and done it all. I mean, you're talking having wealth, Solomon had it. Power, Solomon had it. Money, fame, fortune. I mean, people came from all over the world. I don't know where Sheba is, but a queen came all the way from there to go see him. And how does Solomon talk about that? Everything is meaningless. The translation I'm using this morning says everything is beautiful. One thing I want you to do, church, is I want you to look inside your bulletins every week, and I want you to see something. Every single week I'm going to post what we're studying for the next week. You notice the first 3 are what we're talking about today, and the next 3 are what we're talking about next week. The reason I do this is I want you to pick up the Bible and read it for yourself. I want you to test me on it. I want you to challenge me on it, because honestly, this is my stance, and this will always be my stance. This is the divine, inspired Word of God. This is where I get all my answers to everything in life. And when the students try to snub me into stupid games we play whenever we're at church or out in public, this is where I get my answers. I believe in the authority of the Word of God. But I'm also human and I can be wrong, so I'm going to ask you to test me on it. This is what you test me with. So please pick up the Word and read it. And let's talk about it. Let's take a look at how it starts off. Verse 1 of chapter 1 says, the words of the teacher, son of David, king of Jerusalem. Now I know my translation might be different from probably most of y'all's in here. I'm using a fairly new, it's called the Christian Standard Bible. If you want to pick it up, I suggest it. It's easy to read, but it's accurate to the original Hebrew and Greek. It says, absolutely meaningless, or absolute futility, says the teacher. Absolute futility. Everything is futile. It means everything we do has no purpose. What does a person gain for all his efforts that he labors at under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets, panting. It returns to the place where it rises. Gusting to the south, turning to the north, turning goes the wind, and the wind returns and it cycles. All the streams flow to the sea, yet the sea is never full to the place where the streams flow, where they flow again. All things are wearisome. More than anyone can say, the eye is not satisfied by seeing, or the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. I'm going to stop there. And here's where I say I'm going to try not to be a downer today. This is kind of a depressing book. Let's just be honest. Everything's pointless. There is no purpose for what you do. Even the rivers are pointless. They flow and flow and flow and never fill up the sea they flow into. It's all useless. Thanks a lot, Pastor Brian. You made my day great. But can I tell you, here's what I think this means. We're getting into the head of an old man who's lived in the most power and wealth that a man can have in his lifetime. And he's looking back at all of it saying, what have I accomplished? Look at the life of Solomon. Solomon accomplished dividing his kingdom. When he went after all these wives and married these foreign women and went after their gods and built temples to them, God told him flat out, you're going to see, or your children are going to see your kingdom divided. So everything that God built through his father David was torn apart. In the end, he accomplished nothing. For all the women he had been with, and for all the money that he had attained, and for everything that he had done, in the end, he accomplished nothing. If you didn't get raised in church your whole life, you probably never even heard of Solomon. So later on when he says, those in no remembrance who came before, and those who will come after, there will also be no remembrance, you're fulfilling what he wrote here. Who is Solomon? Here's the fact, church. We can chase after things our whole life. And we can acquire whatever we desire in this life, and in the end, it doesn't count for anything. Money comes and goes. It's like holding on to sand at the beach. You pick up a spoonful and it's constantly flowing through your fingers. That's how money works. Relationships aren't as satisfying as they are in the movies or in the books. Pray for my wife, she's stuck with me. But church, we put our hope in people. We put our trust in money. We put our trust in things. We amass things for ourselves. We acquire power. We acquire things. And in the end, how much of it can we take with us when we stand before our Lord and God? Zero. There's an old saying, you never see a U-Haul chasing a hearse. Unless you're Egyptian, some few thousand years ago. And how is it serving them? People like us, they get up and put it in a museum, so even then they don't keep it. Everything we chase after in this life, if there's no true purpose behind it, is meaningless. Verse 10, he says, can one say about anything, look, this is new. It's already existed in the ages before us. There's no remembrance of those who came before, and those who will come after. There will also be no remembrance by those who follow them. And I've had discussions with students. Some of you might know I used to be a youth minister. I've had discussions on this chapter. Well, what about computers? Well, did you know the ancient Greeks had computers? They had things that calculated, maybe not screens and things like we have, but they had a form of computer. The people of antiquity were a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They just didn't take as much stock in it as we do. And thank God, because we don't look into history books to see when we're looking down at screens. But the fact is, we think sometimes in our own selfishness, in our own desire, that we are the only ones who've ever been through the troubles we're going through. As a matter of fact, if you're on social media, you might notice that people tend to be a little bit more self-centered the more they're on Facebook. Facebook should be called Look at My Facebook. Half the time people just post a question so they can get a response, or they post a, I'm so angry right now, so someone will say what happened and they have to listen. We just want attention. Sometimes we act like we're the only people in the world who's ever had problems. I love what he said. Don't tell people your problems. 90% of the people don't want to hear it, and 10% of the people are glad you have those problems. The fact is, if we feel down, if we feel depressed, if we lost money in trading or on the stock market, if we lost a job, we're not the first ones to do it. If we've struggled with something our whole lives and we've had an issue, we've had problems, we're not the first ones to go through those issues or problems. If we fight with our spouses or our kids or our friends or our neighbors or someone at school, we're not the first people to get into a fight. We need to remember that sometimes those things that we think are so important don't really matter. I think about the obsession that we have with sports. Let's think about that a moment. There's nothing wrong with sports. I'm an avid Dodger fan, even though I constantly get teased for the color of my office about it. I say it's woodland colors sometimes just to bear down with it. I'm a Rams fan, which tells you how pathetic of a football fan I am. But in the end, what have the Dodgers or the Rams ever done for me? I can watch every game, I can know every stat, which I don't. And they let me down, especially if you're a Rams fan, they let you down. They let me down when they don't do what I want them to do. They don't perform the way I want them to perform. And so I put my hope in things. I put my hope in sports. And someday my children are going to be older than 7. The oldest I've got is 7, and there's 3 more behind him. Eventually they're going to get into sports. I caught myself during my son's playing t-ball this year being one of those parents. Last year I coached Andrew's team, and this year I just didn't want to do it because I didn't want to handle the crazy parents, and I then became one of them. Standing at the gate telling Xander and Finn what they should be doing differently and better. But even should they go to the majors someday, which I'm pretty sure if they're like me, they won't. All my pushing wasn't going to get them there when they're 6 and 5 years old, is it? And should they make it to the majors and be terrible people, whose failure is that? Mine. Yesterday, Finn said something that really kind of broke my heart. He said, "Dad, do I have to go to church tomorrow?" My first thought was, well, I'm a preacher, you better. But when I actually got to thinking about it, I thought of, maybe there's something I'm not doing in his life that makes him not want to get close. And of course, he's a 5-year-old. But maybe I'm not showing him something as his parent. Maybe I'm focusing too much on things that aren't important. Like my smartphone that I said I would never get another one. And I use it for church calls with all the video games on. Maybe I'm paying too much attention to other things and not what's really important. I've only got a short time with those small boys who look up to their dad. And then it's over. There's an amount of time that I have in my life with that little boy, Phineas and Xander and Tobias and Sebastian. I've only got a short amount of time that those boys are going to listen to what I say, and then they're going to know it all soon enough. And so I better get in the game. Stop chasing after the win. The thing is, folks, we're not given a second go-round of this. We're not given another chance at this. We're not given another try. And so the things that we do in this life count for something. Whether we chase after things that are perishing or seeking to make a lasting impression. He goes on to say in verse 12, again, just stay open to this if you're following along. He says, "I, the teacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem. I applied my mind to examine and explore through wisdom all that is done under heaven. God has given people this miserable task to keep them occupied. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun and have found everything to be futile." Chasing after the end. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, "See, I've amassed wisdom far beyond all those who are over Jerusalem before me. And my mind has thoroughly grasped wisdom and knowledge. I applied my mind to know wisdom and knowledge, madness and folly. I learned that this, too, is chasing after the wind. For with much wisdom is much sorrow. As knowledge increases, grief increases." I think we make life too complicated, don't you? We have this imaginary circle, and it's different for everybody, but in this circle is the things that we think will make us happy. For those of you who are students, if I can just graduate, I'll be happy. Enjoy the time you got now at your portion. For For those of us that are single, once I get married or find that special someone, my life's going to be different. It'll be different. But if you make it different in the wrong ways, you might get a little sample of what hell is like. As a young man, I did. I fell in love with someone who I thought was a good person. I saw her for what she could be. I put her on a pedestal, and I made her out to be something she was not. And the moment things got tough, she was gone. These things that we chase after, these people that we put up on pedestals, they fail. I love my wife, and as a child, it was my goal to get married and be a husband and a father, but I can tell you from personal experience, I know I let my wife down. Constantly. Daily. More than once a day. I let my children down. And they let me down. They don't live up to the expectations I place upon them. It's almost in the sense that I put my wife and kids sometimes in the place of God. And when they don't do what I want them to, I get crushed, I get destroyed, I get angry, I get upset. I find out that it's only meaningless. A chasing after the wind. I promised you, church, that this wasn't going to be a downer service, and I'm going to tell you something that I believe that it is Solomon who wrote this, that he learned at the end, that there's only a point to everything and you find the right direction to go. You see, Solomon was successful only as he followed God, in the sense of godly success. Sure, he might have had money and power, but in the end, he was dead and buried and is now making dust in a tomb somewhere. None of the things he accomplished in life went with him. People remember him, sure. Nowadays, with the lack of Bible literacy in our nation, not as many remember him. But I'm sure he discovered this, is that without God, there is no point. My wife and I were going through signs the other day, or signs yesterday. You might have noticed this morning the church sign changed. We went out in the middle of the night like really crazy people about 10 o'clock and changed the sign because we weren't happy with it. And one I saw stuck out to me. It said, God doesn't believe in atheists, therefore atheists don't exist. And I think there's a point to that. Because if you think about this, without God, is there a point to this life? You're here for a few short, miserable years to make a living for yourself, and then in the end, other people get what you earn. The IRS. Perhaps when you leave a will, your children find over possessions, depending on how you do it. But in the end, everything you accomplish in this life, apart from eternal focus, is meaningless. Jesus said this, don't store for yourselves treasures here on earth where moth and rust destroy and a thief may break in and steal, but rather store for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth cannot destroy and rust cannot destroy and a thief cannot break in and steal. What does he mean by that? It means that everything in this life is going to cost you unhappiness. You go after that new car and you get your dream car and one day it's going to break down. Or you get that job you always wanted. One day they're going to push you out, give you a gold watch and a handshake and say good luck. You get all the money you want, you're going to find out that the stock market crashes and it's gone the next day. And in the end, what does it all accomplish? You see, church, I'm not here to bring you down. I'm here to say that there is a hope from this despair. There is something beyond looking down and saying everything's pointless. The fact is, we have a creator God who designed us for a different purpose other than simply trying to exist until we fade away. We've got a God who had a purpose in mind for us. When He designed this earth, this planet, in the beginning, He made it all, and He said, this is for you. Be fruitful, multiply. He blessed them. God in the beginning made us to walk with Him. We know that because when Adam and Eve heard His sound in the cool of the day, they hid. They knew what it sounded like when God arrived. We were designed for God. We were designed for each other. We find out in Genesis, when Adam was alone in the garden naming animals, the one thing that God said was not good was that it was not good for man to be alone. Jesus wrapped all of Scripture into 2 verses. When tested by a Pharisee, and he said, "What's the greatest commandment?" Jesus said this: "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself." If you love God and you love people, you have everything you need. We were designed for community. We were designed for community with our Creator and designed for community with each other. Beyond that, church, there's nothing else we really need. Why is it that when we hear of Jordan going into Haiti, these people have nothing and yet they're so happy? The church starts at what, 5 a.m. in the morning and doesn't end till 2 because they just love God so much. They're like little Paisley running up on stage. They got to be with their daddy. And here we are. We've got everything we need in this country. Even the poorest among us has daily food more than the rest of the world gets. And we complain that we don't have enough. We could have the same as our neighbor down the street, but we still look at what they have and envy. So what's the solution, church? It's found in the verse that even most atheists know, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. And here's the catch. It's not simply believing that God exists. James tells us, so you believe in God, good. Even the demons believe and they shudder. Jesus says, if you love me, you'll obey what I tell you. It's not merely about trying to get a good spot in church or having my pew. Because one day when you're gone, guess what? Those of you who have marked pews that you sit every week, someone else is going to sit in it. At that point, you're not going to be able to do anything about it. It's about being in relationship with God and with each other. Church, we need our God. I am in need of a Savior. I'm a wicked man. I sin on a daily basis, whether by doing something willfully or not doing something I'm supposed to. I'm not a good person. I'll be honest with you. But when I surrender to God, people can see Him in me. That's the point. When I give my life over to Christ, instead of chasing after these things, and for me, I'll be honest with you, a big one for me is video games. If you can shoot something, I like it. When I give up that foolish stuff, I find that I've got these little boys who want to know more about their daddy and want to be like their daddy. And if daddy's a godly man, then down the road, it's very likely they'll be godly men. I've got people who meet me in the street, and I'm not saying this to brag upon myself. I can only give credit to the Holy Spirit, but they know me by reputation because people have told them about our church. And I'm not saying this to brag upon myself because I'll be honest, church, I say it, and I'm going to say it again. I'm not a very nice person. I'm a grouch. I'm Eeyore. I look at life and I see the glass is half empty a lot of the time. And if you look at me, I typically say, thanks for noticing me. But here's the fact, church. When I surrender to God and I allow Him to move in my life, and I allow Him to have control, and I stop chasing after things that don't matter in the end, that's when God shines through me. That's when people can see the Holy Spirit in me. The band's going to come up and play another song. But before they do, I want to challenge you this morning. Is there something in your life that you're chasing after that's pointless right now? That at the end of your life, maybe it seems extremely important now, but at the end of your life, you're going to look at it and suddenly see that maybe it wasn't as important. Maybe there's a fight with somebody. It could be a sibling. Could be a spouse. I'll be honest with you, with me, I've got a couple sisters that I need to get right with, or at least do what I can to. Maybe there's somebody who's passed on and you've never made peace with because there's something going on. Or maybe there's a business deal, or maybe there's an employer, or maybe there's just something that you're holding on to that is keeping you. Maybe it's making you or it's not bringing you enough pleasure. I once sat down with a man, and he and I were in my office having coffee together. And he talked about addiction. He said the very first time I got high was the highest I'd ever been. And he told me I could share this, so I'm not disclosing anything that was private. He said the first time I did that, man, was the highest I'd ever been, and I spent the rest of my time when I was doing meth, chasing after that high and never finding it. The thing is, we don't need to have substance abuse to be addicts. Some of us are addicted to stuff. We can never have enough. We can never have enough new cars. Every time our car gets a little bit old, or maybe we go for an oil change, I gotta get another one. Or we find out that after we get that 65-inch screen, there's 105 inches somewhere. Oops, I gotta get that one. And now they got that virtual reality thing, so now you don't even need TV because it's all 3D. When does it stop? It doesn't. There's always going to be something else. There's always going to be another ladder to climb and another hill to get up. There's always going to be somewhere else. But the thing is, it's amazing, and this gives me such encouragement this morning, is that with God, I can never earn His love. There is nothing I can do in this life to make Him love me more or less than He already does right now. How do I know that? There's a cross on a hill 2,000 years ago that tells me that while I was still His enemy, Christ died for me. That while I was still that young, foolish man chasing after girls and getting drunk on the weekends because that's what you do, and going away from everything I was raised and taught as a kid, that God still died for me. I look at my boys, I've got 4 of them, God blessed me, and I think He cursed my parents with never having a granddaughter, I don't know. I look at those 4 boys, and there's not a single one of them I can really think I could trade for anybody else. Sometimes I might want to in my head, but it's just me being facetious. And yet God looked upon me. He looked upon me, His enemy, who said, God, I respect you, but I don't want anything to do with you, which means I didn't respect you. There's that God who's still mine, you're still mine. When I was broken and at the end of my rope and ready to crash my car over a 300-foot cliff, that God who pulled me out of that, He said, you're mine, son. I want you. The things you've been chasing after, they're going to be gone. They're going to be in the dust someday, but you and me are forever if you choose to follow me. And that day I said, I surrender to God. I didn't hear, well, first you got to make up for this. No, I heard I never wanted you to go away. Welcome home. And so I want to encourage you this morning. We've got elders and we've got people in this church. If you need to talk to somebody, if you need to get yourself right with God this morning, if there's something in your life that you've been fighting with, that you've been chasing after that's just empty and chasing after wind, I want to encourage you. I'm going to be sitting in the front pews. I'm going to invite our elders in the front pews. Come talk to somebody. And if you're embarrassed to come forward in church, come see me afterwards. I'm always at the door. Some of you I elbow to get out so I can meet you all there. But just don't go another day. Don't go another day without knowing this all-forgiving, all-embracing love of this God who will never love you any more or less than He does right now. All right, church? You feeling me? All right, as we worship God this morning, I just want you to just think about your life and think about what God's done. Let's stand and worship.